Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Sarah.
And you should listen to
What's New?
Nancy Drew.
Come get a clue.
Boop, boop, doo.
What's New, Nancy Drew is a weekly podcast where we recap the latest episode of the CW show Nancy Drew.
Yeah, so put your sleuthing brain on and join us for a good time.
Hello, everyone. Screenplay Archaeology host KiramidHead here. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to get some intro stuff out of the way. First things first, we are now part of the Fandom Lib Media podcast network, so I'm going to link their site down below. And that's why you would have just heard a promo for another podcast, because they're another one of the shows on the network. And as per usual, if you like the show and you'd like to know more, you can check out our social media pages on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, and even Instagram now. The show also has a Patreon if you're willing to gift money, but you don't really need to if you don't want to. And we also have a Discord server, which you can join if you want to chat with, the group members there. So that link is going to be down below as well. So yeah, sit back, guys, and enjoy the show. All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Screenplay Archaeology podcast. I'm your host, KiramidHead.
And I'm not Cthulhu Jack. I'm Chloe.
I hope he hears that. No, he called the Rifkin drafts immediately as soon as I proposed this.
True. But, guys, I don't remember this being the Cthulhu Jack show.
No, he's just always available, so...
True. I'm throwing unnecessary shade at the guy that I've never talked to or met.
Yeah, and I get my best podcast art from his wife, so quiet down.
Okay.
But, no, we're celebrating our 100th episode. We're concluding the whole build-up of 4 Planet of the Apes episodes. This is one I've been wanting to do for a long time, these Planet of the Apes episodes, but there was never a good time for it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I can join for one of them. And, before today, I didn't realize I was going to be guest hosting the 100th episode.
Yeah. I thought I must have just forgotten to mention the 100th episode thing, because it's I guess just because I was so wrapped up in just making this scheduling thing work out so I can release 1 episode a week.
Yeah. Well, and also, keep in mind, folks, I suggested for his 100th episode that we do the Day the Clown Cried.
Yeah. I have a feeling that's not going to be as interesting as we might think.
Well, granted, the whole movie was actually finished. It's just never been released.
It's probably got one of those 100-year time locks on it now.
If even that, I don't even know if he might have had a contract saying that it's never meant to be released.
So we'll see that Robert Rodriguez time capsule movie before we see that.
Basically, and, how old will we be when that movie comes out? If we're still alive?
I will be 123?
119 in my case, if they haven't outlawed trans people in the future.
Well, I'll only be 82. But no, I basically said, let's do Planet of the Apes. We'll do multiple episodes in chronological order, and I'll get a different host for each one, because, why not play with the format a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Similar to
you couldn't get Davis Deacon to read all of these at once?
No, he's been really busy with stuff lately, and
yeah.
I burned him out so hard with that Conan episode. It's been difficult to get him to say yes to stuff.
You can't scotch tape his eyeballs to stay open for the Terry Hayes script.
Oh no, I haven't even tried this. The one I keep trying to get him to do is that one last Freddy vs. Jason script we have. He just keeps going, no, let's wait a few more years.
Is he pulling a new line on this? It's going to take him a decade to get around to it.
I mean, I don't blame him. I've read that script more than once, and it's probably the most dull of the Freddy vs. Jasons.
I haven't read it.
The Proto Savage draft?
Nope.
You're not missing a lot.
Doesn't sound like it.
It's yet another writer who only cares about Freddy writing a Freddy vs. Jason movie.
Whereas the final movie cares more about Jason than Freddy. To a degree, at least.
I see people say both on that movie, but yeah, we're off topic.
Oh, let's go ahead.
Yeah, so what we're going to be covering today is going to be really the last of the unproduced Planet of the Apes reboot scripts from the 90s that we have, because there was apparently one more after this, but no one's ever actually seen it, before they eventually did what became the Tim Burton movie. And was supposed to be directed by Chris Columbus, was written by Sam Hamm of Batman 1989 fame, and sadly, not a whole lot else.
Oh, he's done a few things.
He's done a few things, but like nothing as major as Batman.
True. He's gotten, I think, more active over time again. Now he's writing I think he's involved in the Batman 89 comics.
Yeah, he's writing those.
And he wrote the teleplays for both Joe Dante episodes of Masters of Horror.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But,
one of them, the second one, actually kind of reminds me of this script at times. In the opening.
Is that the Screwfly solution? No.
Yeah, the Screwfly solution. The idea that you have like this mass extinction problem that scientists are having to solve, and it takes place over the span of months. In that opening, it really reminded me of the Screwfly solution teleplay.
Yeah, I've not actually seen those, but
they're actually they're some of the best episodes of that show.
Yeah, every time I pick out an episode of that show, I always get like a stupid one. So it's like.
You mean you picked a McGarris episode?
The first one I saw was Valerie on the Stairs.
Yeah, it's a weak episode.
That was weird. But yeah, no, we're not talking about Masters of Horror. But so the basic summary of the script before we get into like, admittedly, what's going to be some pretty brief background stuff because I've done it 3 times now. You're not going to ask my opinion on the whole series? I'll ask your opinion, but I'm going to keep kind of quiet about it because I've given my opinion 3 times now.
True.
But the basic plot of this one is that there's a spaceship that crashes to Earth in 1998.
Yeah, July 4th.
And there's an orangutan astronaut in there that gets shot, and then this weird bioengineered virus that has like this weird vector slimy thing like the blob comes out of it, swims around, and it starts infecting humans and making it so that babies rapidly age and die shortly after they're born. And so humanity facing extinction ends up being this ragtag group of scientists who sort of reverse engineered the spaceship to go back to where it came from, and they find a planet which is ruled by apes who have stolen all of Earth culture.
They did it.
Yeah.
They finally did it.
They finally made a monkey out of me.
I was going to say, you'd think it'd be more effective to fight the virology, right? I mean, yeah, whatever. It's a science fiction script, but I think it'd be more effective to, like, stay on Earth and solve, there's got to be some... We'll get into it. Yeah, we'll get into it. Yeah, there was a moment early on where I'm like, they're not going to make it back, are they? That's like, I did brewed math in my head and went, nah, everyone's going to die. Yeah. But yeah, so this is this is sort of like one of the many attempts Fox made to try and revive this series in the late 80s and into the 90s. And of course, it all started with, the Pierre Boulle novel, but it really got kicked off with the 1968 movie. So you just give a quick rundown of what you think of the franchise. So it's interesting that I've never have come across a copy of the book in a bookstore. I did, but it was 20 years ago when the Tim Burton movie was out. Okay, that makes sense. That they would have reissued the book then, but I've never come across the book in public, and so, I mean, I guess you can just order it any time, and I do have, like, an audio dramatization that I remember getting from the library once. I'll have to look where it is. But no, I'm a fan of the movies. 68, favorite of mine. Rod Serling's adaptation of it is good, and I know there was stuff in the final film that he doesn't agree with, because there's a rewrite by Michael Wilson to bring the budget down. And it makes it more of its own thing rather than sticking to the novel. And then the sequels are an interesting beast. Beneath the Planet of the Apes is weird, yet I kind of like it. I kind of like it. I'm just going to say all the problems with that movie stem from the fact that Charlton Heston didn't want to be in it, so there is some clumsy retconning. Oh, well, he didn't want to be in it until like the last minute.
Yeah.
And then, so that's why he's like brought back into the third act. But it has like the same production value as the first movie. And it's always, I always love seeing sequels where we pick up right where we left off. I always love that. I think the first movie to do that might be Bride of Frankenstein and Dracula's Daughter way back when. But
Bride of Frankenstein doesn't quite pick up where the first movie left off, but
it picks up moments after.
I'm being pedantic.
Yeah, you get my fucking point.
Yeah, I get your point.
No, it's interesting to see where the story goes. I like the weird bomb religion at the end, or like the group worshiping the atom bomb. That's really weird and very like 1960s science fiction. I love its absurdity.
One of whom was played by freaking Victor Buono.
You think you would have played one of the apes or like one of the gorillas, considering his size?
Yeah, true. Instead, they get Senator What's-His-Face from Manchurian Candidate playing the gorilla general.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also, I was gonna say this is this is one of two movies I can think of where Victor Buono is introduced in the ending, living underground. The other being The Evil.
I don't know that one, so I'll take your word for it.
We'll talk about it later. And then we get Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Which, oddly enough, this Sam Hamm script seems to inverse that idea a little.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if it's because it's a concept originally from the book of the humans becoming celebrities.
Yes,
I don't know.
That's in the book.
Okay, so that makes sense. So I guess then when Paul Dehn wrote the screenplay from Escape from the Planet of the Apes, he inversed the idea that was in the original novel.
Yeah, and it was no doubt inspired by budget concerns.
True, yeah, it's like we got like 3 apes and that's it. And we kill one of them off pretty quickly.
Yeah, and because Fox kept cutting the budget with every movie.
Yeah, and well, that becomes evident by the last one. And
sure.
I love the ending of Escape from the Planet of the Apes where where Caesar is crying out, "Mama, Mama!"
Yeah.
And I just remember watching that as a kid and going, Jesus, movie!
Yeah, I know, right after they did the whole brutally gunning down scene.
Yeah, and...
Which piece of trivia, the originally scripted version was they're going to get torn apart by police dogs.
Jesus.
I love how fucking dark the Planet of the Apes movies get.
True. Well, it's dark from the beginning. It's about the end of humanity.
Yeah, but I mean, especially it's about the end of humanity, but then you have the second movie which destroys the planet, and then the third movie ends with them shooting a baby.
Yeah. Then we get to Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, which out of like the later ones, like 4 and 5, I mean, I like that ape uprising, and it's a pretty solid sequel for what it is. And then Battle, I don't think I'm trying to remember the last time I saw it all the way through.
The last time I saw it was when I bought the Blu-ray box set around the time War was coming out.
Yeah, and then I remember like that one had a lot of scripting issues, and like they were really screwing over Paul Dehn. For the writers of the Omega Man.
Well, what happened was that he wrote his initial outline, because I did an episode where I talk about this outline just a couple weeks ago. So this is
I haven't listened to it yet.
So this is still kind of my point is it's still kind of in my memory. So he wrote this outline, which was pretty good. It had some problems, but Fox decided they wanted something a little bit lighter. And then they wanted the whole story redrafted, and he got sick and was unable to do it. So they brought in the Omega Man writers. And then after they did their drafts and they needed to do the budget rewrites, he was well enough to come back and do those. And apparently they were pissed about like his ending to the movie. Mm-hmm. Like they hated the whole ambiguous ending with the statue crying.
Yeah. But no, I need to rewatch that soon, just to say that I can now remember all of it.
Well, Battle is one where I will say, since you don't remember, when I watched all these movies when I was like 9 or 10, like, yeah, I didn't like Battle even back then. And it's one when I saw it again that time, I still didn't really like it. Like, the most redeeming thing about it is that I watched the extended cut, which includes more tie-ins to Beneath.
Yeah.
And also, if you get the Blu-rays, definitely watch the unrated cut of Conquest, because that's a little bit better.
Oh, really? I'll have to do all of this.
It's an already good movie, which they made slightly bloodier, and the ending has the original darker ending.
Okay. I might have watched that version. I just don't remember. I don't have the Blu-rays at the moment. And then we have the short-lived 70s series, which weird because we have this two-parter Rod Serling script.
That's right. I saw that on like the Planet of the Apes archive where all the scripts are. And I'm like, what is this?
Well, I have it. But I also remember one of the parts, because one of the scripts has like one of the parts has like 2 pages that are condensed, and then I remember seeing a listing on eBay for it where those first 2 pages were in full, and I think I remember screen capping those ones, but I have to look for those at some point. And that listing is long gone, so he must have done another draft on it at some point. But we have no idea what that's about in terms of its production background.
Yeah, that is weird. I haven't seen either TV show. I haven't seen the live-action one or the cartoon.
I've seen a little bit of the cartoon.
I've been told I'm not missing much either way.
Yeah, well, it's kind of retelling the story, but in animated form. And then the 70s show had from what it's kind of like a Battlestar Galactica issue where it was really like a budgetary issue. Oof. Keep it going. Does that make sense? Yeah,
it makes sense.
But I also remember, so it takes place. I know it has Roddy McDowall, but it's also a separate continuity.
Yeah, I mean, unless you go online and you find one of those crazy sites where they try and reconcile everything, and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah. And then, after the 70s, put on a back burner for years. And then we get, finally, after all these scripts, we get the 2001 movie. And I haven't seen that movie in years, but I just remember it being a turd.
I saw it when it came out when I was 9. And being a little kid, I kind of liked it, but as I got older, the more I thought back, I'm like, yeah, that's not very good. And I would catch bits and pieces of it on TV over the years. I'm like, wow, this really isn't good. And I watched it in full for the first time just like a few weeks ago. The first time in years, like, oh god, this movie is bad.
Yeah, it reeks ass. It has, Rick Baker's effects are fine. That's like the stuff that I expected them to get right.
The Danny Elfman score.
Is it a good Danny Elfman score, or is it Danny Elfman composing it in his sleep score?
It was pretty good.
Okay.
Like, the best theme is the opening credits theme, but, like, the rest of it's decent. Like, it's kind of drawing a little bit from it seems to be kind of in a similar style to the Goldsmith score, but not exactly.
Yeah. But I'm trying to also remember, just, like, the fact that you have the humans able to fucking talk.
Yeah, and they're all played by terrible actors.
Oh, who plays them?
No one you have ever heard of.
Okay.
It's like there's a few people. Well, one of them is played by Eric Avari, who's like that guy who's in like a ton of movies, who is the museum curator in The Mummy.
Okay.
And the guy who hits his head at the beginning of Independence Day, he was like the tribal leader in Stargate. Like, he's in a ton of shit. They needed like an ambiguously brown guy. And there's the fucking first mate from Peter Jackson's King Kong also gets killed by a gorilla. And then you have like the non-acting model who isn't even trying. And then you have like the real actor in the group, who is Chris Christopherson, who is barely in the movie and barely does anything. It's like he's just waiting between takes to go do Blade 2.
Mm-hmm. Or do some more music.
It's like he's waiting for Goyer and Del Toro to figure out how they're going to bring him back. And so he's like, oh, fine, I'll be in this movie.
I will say the ending is a little similar to the script that we're going to be talking about.
Yes, and it's also kind of the ending of the book.
Yeah, true. It just kind of pisses me off that you look at this script that we're going to talk about in a little bit, and you just see like, wow, this could have actually been something.
Yeah.
And it's funny that Tim Roth passed on Harry Potter to do this.
Yes.
But then again, I fucking hate Harry Potter and I hate J.K. Rowling. If you're going to ask why, it should be obvious by now.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. You dodged a bullet, but you got stabbed in the knee.
Alan Rickman was better anyways for that character.
True.
But here's the thing. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Not only is he the first mate from Peter Jackson's King Kong, but he also gets killed by a gorilla in this movie. And he also is the token black guy of the group because Eric Avari is the house slave is like, he's a house human. He thinks he's part gorilla. I'm like, oh my God, you're not being thematic. You're just being stupid.
Yeah.
And the main thing that just sticks out in my head about this movie after having watched it was all the fucking actors doing fucking monkey screeches for like 2/3 of the movie. Dear fucking God, Helena, shut up.
Jesus, yeah, I know.
And the fact that like the Rick Baker makeup effects for the most part are good, but there must have been some executive mandate to try and make the female apes look pretty. And they come off looking like fucking like bad Botox patients with fucking drawn on eyebrows. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, I remember, isn't there like a dance scene with one of them?
It's a sexy dance scene that is about to turn into a ape sex scene.
Yeah. Jesus.
All these scripts are fucking weird with the sex stuff, I swear.
True. And then, whatever. This movie, there was a lot of build-up for this movie. They promoted it heavily. They talked about the originals at the time even. They built this up as being something special.
It wasn't.
And it farted out. It sucks. They never make a sequel. And it's kind of like the beginning of Tim Burton's downfall, in my opinion.
He had it was a weird kind of up and down thing throughout the 2000s, because he has movies I really like from the 2000s, and then he has movies where it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Because I like Big Fish, I like Sweeney Todd, I like Corpse Bride, but then it's like, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, what?
Yeah, it sucks. And if you want me to get going on that, we're gonna be here for the whole night.
Oh, we can do the freaking Scott Frank Chocolate Factory script. So
oh no,
and go off on there the 3-hour-long movie version with 10 minutes of newsposition at the beginning.
Oh God. But yeah, like everything that every wrong decision you could make in terms of establishing atmosphere, Tim Burton did every mistake of that in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
And Alice in Wonderland was worse.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that didn't hurt me as much as because I'm more of a, I loved Willy Wonka growing up. Anyway, then for some reason, a decade later, we get the Prequel Trilogy, a new reboot.
And they're really good.
Yeah. But what's also interesting is that they have been working on that since 2007. I know this because there's an eBay listing for 2007 Jaffa and Silver draft for Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Now, is that the version they wrote before they turned it into a Planet of the Apes movie, or is it still...
Well, it's called... I'll have to take a look at it again.
Because I know they started writing it as like an independent version, like a standalone thing.
Yeah, it might be called Caesar Rise of the Apes. I forget. I know that's one of the titles that it had at one point.
Well, the draft I have is called that, so...
True. Is that from like 2010?
I think it's 2010.
Yeah, because there was like another writer involved, and then they came back to rewrite it.
Yeah, I'll check my Google Drive while you talk.
But this is a 2007 draft that is watermarked with Jeff Katz because he was a producer at 20th Century Fox at the time, and he was brought in to try to help be like the voice of the fans, but he was constantly getting shoved to the side by Tom Rothman on all these projects.
Yeah, it's the 2010 draft with revisions by Jamie Moss.
And then more revisions by Jaffa and Silver.
Yeah.
This is a 2007 draft. I'd be interested in reading it. It's just that I need to save up for it.
I guess it costs a lot.
Yep, and don't you go and message to anybody listening. If you're gonna buy it, share it with us.
I actually, I'll save that for off camera. Actually.
Okay. And then Rise of the Planet of the Apes is good, but James Franco is miscast.
I actually don't mind him in that movie.
It's okay.
It's been a while since I've watched it, though.
I mean, it's better than Oz the Great and Powerful, I guess.
I never saw that movie.
I did, and I thought it was good, and then the next day I'm like, wait a minute.
It's probably better than Child of God.
Maybe. I don't know. And then obviously, just getting beyond the fact that he's a total fucking creep in real life. Whatever. Just in the role of a scientist, I don't know, it's just kind of my preference that I would have heard somebody else. And then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is better, and then holy fucking shit, for the Planet of the Apes was amazing.
Yeah, Dawn is the one which I need to revisit because I've only seen it the once when I've watched it on like DVD.
Mhm.
And then I just never went back to it. And then I saw War. War is amazing. I think War is the best one, actually.
Oh, yeah. No, it's funny because I didn't give Rise or Dawn, and I hate the fact that they kind of have interchangeable titles.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
ask me.
I remember thinking that when they announced the title.
Yeah, I'm like, couldn't that have easily been the title for Rise? Both have a similar meaning, but I didn't give those two a chance at the time, and then when I was rediscovering my love for the series in 2016, and when I was getting into screenplay collecting, and then when War of the Planet Apes was in production, I gave those a new chance, and then rewatched them leading up to War, and saw War in the theater, and I really liked War.
Yeah, they're probably the best example of doing like a years later reboot correctly.
Definitely, and having respect for the source material, but doing its own thing with it. Don't know where they'll go from there. I don't know what else you could do.
Well, they have a fourth one in development now, so
yeah, but I assume Matt Reeves isn't involved anymore.
No, he's not directing because he's busy with Batman.
I know that.
It's the guy who did the Maze Runner movies, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
We'll see. I mean, the main thing I'm afraid of is that because it's Disney looking at the success of that trilogy, that they're going to be like, let's do a direct sequel. And I'm like, I'd much rather see them do like a lengthy time skip from the end of War, see like the ape civilization develop.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that series. And that kind of takes us to where we need to be.
Yeah, we tried to condense this, folks, but whatever.
Whatever. I'm not going to do heavy editing on this one. We didn't go that far over my usual target. So, okay, so that brings us back to 1996 when the Sam Hamm draft was turned in. Now, as a little bit of background, there was the Oliver Stone produced Terry Hayes script that was going to be directed by Philip Noyce and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that fell apart because of some executive bullshit where Terry Hayes got fired over not wanting to do a stupid rewrite. Listen to the previous episode to hear about that. And then everyone basically, like, Noyce walked, Stone walked, and then the Natural Born Killers producers who were doing it, they got let out of their contract. And I'm not sure what the connection is, how this happened, but it somehow ended up in the hands of Chris Columbus. And he brings on Sam Hamm to do this rewrite. And of course, we all know Chris Columbus from the stuff he's done.
He's hit or miss for me.
He's done some good stuff. He's also done Pixels.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like his 90s output for the most part. And he did write he did write Young Sherlock Holmes, which I like.
Yeah, and then I guess you'll have to cover his Indiana Jones script someday.
Oh god.
Just called Monkey King.
Yeah.
So I bring that up here for relation, but this is one also because that 1996 is when he also worked on a draft for Daredevil, and then
it's also when he was supposed to be directing Fantastic Four.
Yes, and I say that because he had Sam Hamm do a rewrite of the Michael France script.
Less said about that rewrite, the better.
We'll get to that. That would have been an interesting 100th episode, but no, we want to get my friend Alex on for that at some point.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that script is not good.
Well, the Michael France drafts are much better. Yes.
Oh no, the Michael France drafts are great. The Sam Hamm draft, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with that.
True. Is it any worse though than what we got in the end 7 years later?
Which are we talking? Well, the 2005 movie is okay.
True. It's just kind of like, hey, we got superpowers. Let's stick around. Oh no, our friend's a bad guy.
Yeah, it's watchable. It kind of turns into crap in the third act. The sequel is the bad.
True. But so just a little like time frame of what we're dealing with here. Chris Columbus was also working on the Marvel stuff at this point. Yeah. And this script takes the aging baby cue from the previous script as its starting point, and then then actually becomes closer to the book, albeit an updated version, and where it's the 90s.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting adaptation in terms of its combination, and is actually interesting.
Yeah, but of course, Sam Hamm did Batman, amongst other things. He did an early draft of Batman Returns, which is the only other script of his I've covered on here, actually.
Oh, you're going to have to cover his, I know you keep putting off Watchmen, but yeah.
Well, the main thing with Watchmen is that the three scripts are very similar to each other. But that wasn't
true.
That script wasn't great. His Batman Returns draft was okay.
Well, he openly said that he didn't care for his Watchmen script, or that it wasn't the right move. Like, he didn't know what else to do at the time.
Yeah, that's fair. And like his Batman Returns script is okay, but then it turns into just a treasure hunt, and it's like, okay. And his I would love to know what the story is of that Fantastic Four script. And just why it ends with the joke it ends on is just one of those things I have to... No amount of brain bleach can get rid of that fucking mental image, but that's a future episode.
And I don't know what you're referring to, Bruce, because I have not read that draft yet.
I could tell you after we record. But, so yeah, he's done some good stuff. It's interesting that he kind of ended up having, like, an impact on the later Batman movies because they used some elements from his... Blind Justice comic for Begins.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool that worked out like that.
Yeah.
And so to just get into the script, it's a first revision, and this is the first one script to just plainly be called Planet of the Apes. It got fucking weird there with all the returning and the I don't even fucking know what.
Well, it's weird that the Rifkin draft was retitled to Return of the Planet of the Apes, and you think, like, wait, is somehow connected to the animated series? No.
Yeah, but the script is a first revision dated January 12th, 1996, and it begins with what appears to be space, but it turns out to be the night sky over the Statue of Liberty in New York, as opposed to the Statue of Liberty anywhere else, dumbass. Why'd I write my notes like that? On the 4th of July, 1998, as fireworks go off, and a fireball comes hurtling out of the sky over Manhattan. It, like, just barely misses some skyscrapers.
And the World Trade Center.
Yes. I was wondering if that was it, if I forgot to write that down, and I did.
I wrote it down.
Before finally splashing down in New York Harbor. We
really, us filmmakers did have a fetish for destroying that building at one point.
And guess what? Their wish came true.
Yeah. Well, we will say, have you seen the first episode of The Lone Gunman?
I've heard about that, but I haven't seen it.
I think somebody uploaded all the episodes to YouTube. I have all of them on DVD, but oh boy, is it surreal to watch now.
And then the next day, under the cover of retrieving a crashed weather satellite, and we get all this dialogue with, like, fishermen on a boat, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, you could easily condense all of that.
There's a few things they could condense in this. That's the main thing, because this is 139 pages.
140, I think. We're missing a couple of pages.
It's 140 with the title page and counting the missing page.
Yeah.
So yeah, it goes on kind of long. There's a few action scenes where it's like you don't need to be that detailed.
Yeah.
And so the Coast Guard pulls the crash object. It's a machine of some sort, obviously a spaceship from the harbor, and scientific equipment aboard the ships, including ultrasound, because they think it's pregnant, I guess, show signs of life inside. I wonder if the irony there is intentional, that they're using an ultrasound to find the thing that ends up killing babies.
Mm-hmm.
And then the craft soon opens up, and a figure clad in white, its face away from the audience, staggers out, appearing to say, "Don't shoot and please," before a terrified guardsman who sees what we don't, shoots it dead. And when you find out what it is it really that scary? The craft then begins to rotate out of control and crash into the ship's scaffolding. And in the commotion, the team misses blood dripping from the corpse, and a pink pulsating blob emerges from it, slipping off across the deck and into the water. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, so one of these guys is Palmer, and he's going to say, "You've got to be fucking kidding."
Mm-hmm.
And we then see it yank a seagull down into the water.
I don't know if I would have... I might have preferred it to be airborne.
Yeah, but because they don't really do a good job of explaining the vector.
True. I think I would have preferred for it to be airborne. Just keep it simple. But it would be airborne, and it obviously men are not going to have any side effects from it. But they would pass. When they would go home, they would pass it on to their wives, who then they get their wives pregnant. So presumably, I guess it would then somehow be in their sperm. I don't know. I'm just spitballing this idea out. Or it infects the women. who are now carriers of it, and then obviously the children are then now, when they're born, rapidly age and die. I feel like there was a simplistic way you could have done it. I don't think you needed this whole blobby thing.
And you could have saved a few $1 million of budget.
Yeah.
And also, there's a few just background things like that in terms of backstory that they like throw in like one line of explanation, but they don't do a very good job of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which we don't get until like way later. Like they cram a lot into the third act of this thing.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a furious mad dash to finish rereading this so we could start the episode.
Yeah. And we then cut to 9 months later in the hospital maternity ward in New York, where a woman going into labor notices signs of something weird happening, like an expectant father screaming and the doctors bringing what looks like a chrome sarcophagus along for the birth. And she's like, "What is that?" And they say something kind of stupid in response.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get to meet CDC Dr. Susan Landis, who is soon flown in via helicopter. And I'm like, you want to put a Landis on a helicopter?
Son of a bitch, you made the joke before me.
Meeting with the Dr. Engel, who says they had 5 cases yesterday. And he takes her to an observation room and shows her a newborn that looks like an 80-year-old man, Brad Pitt. And she at first thinks it's Hutchinson-Gilford or neonatal progeria, but it can't be. And they look normal at birth, but age and die within 12 hours. Now, this is, once again, it's carried over from the Hayes draft, but it's different here in that they start aging after like a certain number of weeks pass during pregnancy, and they start aging in the womb.
Which is really creepy.
And they're born dead. And I'm like, okay, so that's where the Exorcist prequel got that idea from.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, it's what I just explained. So that's a change. And soon, Engel reveals a room filled with 30 to 40 infants in differing stages of the disease. A conference is set up during which they establish that cases are cropping up at major airport hubs, and they're even showing up in large numbers just across the river in New Jersey. And being New Yorkers, they're probably like, fuck that.
Yeah. Well, hold on a second here. I'm just looking something up. What's worse than a pile of 30 dead babies?
What?
The live one at the bottom trying to eat its way out.
Ooh. There was a Punisher story arc or something like that happened. Ooh.
What do you get if you punch a dead baby in the jaw?
What?
Deep throat.
Okay.
What's it? Oh no! What's the difference between jam and jelly? Well,
I know that one.
I know, and oh, Jesus Christ!
Okay.
I just looked up dead baby jokes for this bit, you guys.
You're looking up dead baby jokes, and they have the friggin' Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 in there?
Yes, but instead of a girl's asshole, it's baby's mouth.
Oh, okay, we can stop this now.
Oh boy.
They say, so okay, remove that from your brains. They also give up hope on keeping this contained, as word of it is sure to spread no matter what they do. And Susan wants them to look for a contact vector and speculates that somebody isolated the HG mutagen and spread it in a virus, which means it would have had to be tailored for this purpose. And Donna, a member of the team, freaks out, revealing that she's currently 2 months pregnant. And it jumps ahead 4 months. Susan and team member Albert have found the vector, pink globules like the blob from the beginning that float in the bloodstream and only activate in pregnant women, and it goes dormant in men until they pass it on to women. And Susan,
what I said earlier, it just should have been airborne.
Yeah. And instead of being the friggin' Quatermass experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And Susan then goes on Nightline, where she debates a reverend and a terrorism expert as to the cause of the plague. Oh, 90s, when terrorism was a punchline. And it says that it had to have come from another world. And she returns home to find Raymond Dodge waiting in her apartment, her bags already packed. So Dodge is a character from the original movie, but he can't, and Landis is kind of Landon, who's the third astronaut.
Mm-hmm.
And so he says that Dr. Alexander Troy of the JPL wants her to come to New Mexico. And when she refuses, 2 feds walk in and force her to leave. And so she gets flown out to an airbase hidden in the New Mexico desert with hangars carved out of cliff faces. So Area 51.
Yeah, he even says here, okay, call it Roswell.
Yeah, that's not the right reference.
Yeah, I know.
And she is escorted through the underground base by Dodge and brought to Troy. And like, I'm guessing friggin' Brent Spiner from Independence Day is down here somewhere. Just as he comes out of a refrigerated glass and chrome sarcophagus where he's been for 36 hours. And he's also completely naked. And Troy would still have been Schwarzenegger at this point in development.
So he had to freeze himself before he was Mr. Freeze.
Damn it, why didn't I think of that?
I was thinking of a Mr. Freeze joke in here somewhere, and I finally found it.
And so Troy and Dodge love another scientist named Weldon Stewart, show Susan another sample of infected blood, and they've discovered that the pink vector is some sort of machine that's been programmed to spread the disease. Once again, exposition you could write out very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's also a character named Dino.
Me.
I was thinking more De Laurentiis.
I can't do the De Laurentiis impression.
Neither can I.
It's impossible. Susan.
I can do a Madame Golan impression, but I can't do
a dog.
Yeah.
But Susan soon recognizes the blood is not coming from a human, and they show her the frozen corpse of an orangutan in a spacesuit with a bullet in it, which is the pilot of the craft from the opening. And they initially thought he was a lab animal shot into space, but then they discovered that the ship was coded in base 20 for both fingers and toes, proving that he was the pilot. That's some really clever world building right there.
Mm-hmm.
And they've also figured that it came from a planet orbiting Alpha Centauri, nearly 5 light years from Earth. And Susan is then introduced to Commander Astor, who is running a flight simulator and is set to be the pilot for their mission. And said mission is then revealed to Susan as she's thrown into a hangar where the orangutan starship has been fully restored. And they plan to fly it back to where it came from. The destination is already programmed in as the second half of a round trip, and hopefully find a cure there. And this is where you got to start wondering. They're traveling at near the speed of light, and so it has the usual time dilation effect of more time passes on Earth than will on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be gone for a very long time. The math doesn't really make sense. I don't think they could ever have found a cure in time.
Yeah, no, it's like, because, spoiler alert, they get back, and it's at the end, and it's the year 2073. Yeah, no, like, way too much time has passed, you guys. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and so as the team celebrates at a Mexican restaurant, and Stewart explains to Astor the science of time dilation, how the ship will travel, Susan steps outside for air, and Troy joins her, and he dodges a question about whether he has kids. So character set up for later, it takes a very long time to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
Almost as long as the character set up for Schwarzenegger's character in the Hayes draft takes. I swear they set up all this stuff about his past in that script, and then like they don't explain any of it until like 15 pages from the end.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, he tells her she was picked because she has little family and few connections to Earth, as they'll be gone for a long time. And he bolsters her resolve by saying this is their best chance to save humanity. If they stay, they'll just die anyways, so they might as well try. And then it just cuts to the ship, like hard cut to space.
Yeah, no launch or anything.
The ship, as it passes through space, arriving at Alpha Centauri in Earth year 2033. And the crew is all woken up from their cryo units, except for Stewart, whose glass exploded sometime during the trip. And he was cut in the incident, and his blood quickly emptied out in the near vacuum of the ship. And that's a reference to the female crew member Stewart in the original movie who sprung a leak in her tube and then died of old age in her sleep.
Yeah.
So it's a gender-flipped version.
Yeah, no, that was always a creepy bit for me in the original, because I think when I first saw it when I was like 7 or 8, I think I was expecting her to be like the main female character along with the Charlton Heston character, and then just like pull a rug out from under the audience right after the credit sequence was a good attention grabber.
Yep, and then Astor then pilots the ship towards a nearby blue-green planet and lands in a mountain basin after not being able to find a suitable landing site at first. And it then falls to Susan to test the planet's air. In Prometheus style, she takes off her helmet and breathes it in, and it turns out to be fine. And then she starts coughing, going, ugh, shit, what did you put in my drink, David? Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
As the group...
Another weird movie with pregnancy in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, where she gives birth to Squidward.
Yeah.
And as the group explores the nearby area, we get glimpses of unseen observers watching them, including a human hand clutching a spear. And Troy and Dodge set up a small pile of rocks with a U.S. flag in it, saying their silent farewells to Stewart, while Astor and Susan unload equipment from the ship, and he's like awkwardly coming on to her the whole time.
Yeah.
Which weirdly has a parallel later on with the apes. And then so the radio box soon disappears, and after hearing bird calls, the crew flee back inside the ship. And the observers pelt the ship with unseen objects, which is very Ape Canyon, if you know your Bigfoot lore. and Aster fires the boosters to scare them off, only for it to turn out that the ship has landed on ice, which is now beginning to melt. Oopsie. They leave the ship and Susan falls under the ice, prompting Troy to dive in and save her. He succeeds, but the crew are all captured by a hunting party of fur-clad cavemen. They are soon taken to the cave the hunters live in, where Troy, Susan, and Dodge all change into furs, or does Dodge? It's confusing the way it's written, while Aster stays in his spacesuit. And the cavemen are unsure what to do with the newcomers, but they're awed and subdued when Dodge lights his pipe from a Zippo. But before they can go even further into the, we're gods after all, subplot, the sound of a hunting horn is heard, and the cave people flee, some to the front of the cave and some to the back. And so Troy and Susan run for the cave mouth, where they meet the bizarre sight of a helicopter piloted by a gorilla who fires tear gas. It fires a tear gas canister out of a bazooka and into the cave. And the cave people who flee out of the mouth are caught in a net by gorillas waiting for them, having set a trap. And Dodge has fallen in with another group who go deeper into the cave and try to escape from an air hole in the ceiling, only for two gorillas to block it off. As they shoot at any humans who try to escape, Dodge climbs back down and flees deeper into the cave. That's another weird carryover from the Hayes script, because there's this moment where they go and visit a cave, and they're like, hey, there's this other entrance in the ceiling, and it's not clear why they felt the need to point that out, and it gets pointed out twice, and for some reason that carries over into this.
Yeah.
And two gorilla guards are left at the cave mouth, and Troy knocks one of them over a cliff with a burning piece of wood from the fire in the cave, while Aster trips one up and Susan crushes its head with a boulder.
Jesus.
Yeah, and this is something where, like, what Don Murphy had to say about, Fox not going with the Terry Hayes scripts is that, we had a Terminator, but Fox wanted the Flintstones. And I'm like, this ain't no Flintstones.
Yeah.
And they climb to the rocks above the entrance and see the size of the operation, fleets of trucks and ATVs, an army of gorillas and chimps, and 4 more helicopters attacking a series of caves in the area. As apes on skis and snowmobiles swoop in and start capturing humans, because this is now on Her Majesty's Secret Service, apparently. Aster breaks off from the group and heads for a crate of rifles they left near the landing site. And he gets to it just as an ape on skis hits him with a tranquilizer dart. And so the ski ape, he takes note of the rifles and Aster's strange clothes. He pulls out a cell phone and makes a call. And this doesn't amount to anything because he gets found out in a different way in just a few pages.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something they could clean up in a rewrite. And Troy and Susan knock an ape off a snowmobile and make a run for it, only for a helicopter to chase them down and shoot the engine. This is very similar to a chase scene in Green Arrow Escape from Supermax.
That's weird.
And so another helicopter flies and drops knockout gas grenades on it, rendering them unconscious. And they're soon taken to a holding pen set up along a mountain road, and a truck full of bodies with Aster on top soon drives by. And Aster wakes up, calling out to Troy as he passes. And Troy can't yet respond as a side effect of the gas, and Aster is soon heard by the chimp driving the truck, Marcellus, who reports into Colonel Ursus as he is under orders to report anything unusual. And I think this is where we get the line.
Get your hands off me.
Yeah, right before
I was going to say, to quote, have you seen Haunted World of El Super Beasto?
No, I haven't.
It's another Rob Zombie thing, but there's a bit where the ape that is ordered to go kidnap the Rosario Dawson's character, and Super Beasto, when he realizes what's going on, he bursts into the room and he goes, "Get your stinking paws off her, you damn dirty ape!" And Otto the ape has a smart screw in his head, so he's able to speak, and he goes, "Now that's a little derivative, don't you think?"
It doesn't help that every single script insists on doing a version of that line.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that got so old after a while, and it's the worst version is in the Tim Burton movie.
Yeah.
But I won't go into that. But he tases...
But now, what do you think about the El Super Beasto bit?
Fine, I'd have to actually see it.
It's on Tubi. I'll send you the link later.
Oh, God, you don't have to. He tases Aster, and Troy keeps Susan's mouth shut to keep her from talking until she knows what's up. And Ursus soon calls in Lord Zaius, orangutan and a leader of the apes, who attempts to interrogate Aster, so this is our version of Zaius. And the astronaut resists, and Zaius slits his throat with a straight razor. Ursus mentions that Dodge was spotted wearing a similar outfit, and Zaius kills
both.
Is
the straight razor bit meant to be a reference to...
Murders in the Rue Morgue?
Yeah.
That could be, because that was an orangutan in the short story.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that, but that's very possible. And then Zaius just kills both of the apes in the room, and like, because they're the only ones who know about Aster. And as he's leaving, he's like, oh, the human somehow got out of his bonds and killed them.
Yeah.
And so Troy, Susan, and the other captives, they're soon deloused and loaded into a transport truck. And they see Aster get dumped into a mass grave along with countless other dead humans. So he was a useful character.
Yeah, no, this is why I ate every chimpanzee.
Yeah. As the truck continues down the mountain road and they get closer to the ape civilization, we get this whole sequence where they're seeing ads and locations that clue them into the fact that ape culture on this planet is a warped version of Earth's. There's an ad for Home Alone 2 starring Macaque Culkin. There's the animated sitcom The Simians, as in The Simpsons. There's like a version of Disneyland that they pass by.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say then, like, because it also shows that, like, apparently they're showing 12 monkeys at the theater. And I'm like, wait. Shouldn't it be 12 humans?
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Or why not 12 angry apes? I don't know.
I'm still trying to figure out what the plot of 12 Monkeys would be in the ape version, because it can't be the same.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think, why does that joke fall apart when you say 12 monkeys in this? It's like, well, do I have to explain to people? It doesn't really make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Why is it called 12 monkeys in this universe?
Yeah, it should be, well, I guess it's just because to make sure people get the joke.
I guess, but just have Ape Bruce Willis on the cover,
Star of Ape Hard.
Yeah. And the last Ape Scout.
Nah, but the captives are soon driven through the modern and sophisticated Ape City, which is vertically oriented with different levels connected by trees and monkey bars. And so this whole idea of like the modern sophisticated ape civilization, that's from the book.
Yes.
Like that's the main thing they couldn't do back in the 60s because of budget reasons. And it seems like from here on out, we start getting a lot of like book references and stuff that wasn't in the original movie, which is cool.
Yes. If you're going to remake, this is why I could not tolerate the Tim Burton movie, is because that just went nowhere with its concept of the ape society. At least nothing interesting. Here, this is interesting. If you're going to do it differently, do it like this.
Yep. And it was also I believe, it was in the original, the Rod Serling drafts also kept the sophisticated technology.
Yeah, which I'm trying to remember if they've adapted for comics recently.
Did.
It was like, I had to read that because it's from the same company that did the Escape from New York and Big Trouble in Little China comics.
Oh, they did a whole shitload of Apes comics. Like they like filled in the gaps of the original series. They did like...
That's interesting.
They did Kong on the Planet of the Apes, which takes place during Beneath, which didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but okay.
Well, it's funny that we mentioned filling in the events. I actually did write a synopsis or like a treatment for a video game once for a class project. And I actually did write out a Planet of the Apes scene that took place. It was when they destroyed the area with the doll in it. And the idea is, what if one of the apes took the doll and then brought it back to their home?
Oh, okay.
So it was an interesting idea.
Yeah, so they're soon taken to the Zoological Research Institute, or ZRI, and they're met in the lab by Dr. Zira. She's a chimp, and she seems to legitimately care about her charges.
She's the Jane Goodall of this.
Yes, exactly. She's the Diane Fossey, just not getting hacked to death with a machete.
Mm-hmm.
And she notes that Troy and Landis have bloody feet as if they are unused to going barefoot, but does nothing for the time being and lets them all out into the habitat. And Susan and Troy note that the Muzak Zero plagues is from Earth and speculate about whether or not Dodge made it and determined that they need to escape. And I think there's like 3 or 4 different like elevator music things that she plays. And I think they like pull out the reference to both of them. They're constantly like pointing out what the reference is. And so as Troy goes to look for weaknesses in the enclosure, he spots a tree that has grown through the cage and starts to climb up it. However, he's forced to jump back down when Furball, the alpha male in the habitat, attempts to mate with Susan. He does like this big ridiculous dance beforehand, which that is from the book as well.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the book where Zira tries to make him, the main character who has like this French name I can't pronounce, tries to make him mate with Nova on command. She goes like, do the mating dance and I'll give you a sugar cube.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was going to say, I guess I should point out, so the whole alpha male thing is from a study from wolves, and it's since found to be bunk science because all of them were. It was a study done in captivity, so it's not really accurate to how they would act in the wild. But you have people reiterating, alpha male, beta male, like all that shit. And it's from scientists who I think has denounced that whole study that he wrote.
Yeah, it turned up in friggin' Jurassic Park 3 of all places.
Yeah, but it's been since, I assume the refutation wasn't that known at the time, but yeah, since then it's been found to be at the very least not all encompassing of animal societies, especially when you just observe them in captivity.
Yeah, but so she's got it in hand and she hits him in the junk with a branch. And then Troy douses the other humans with water and hits the drum with the branch, creating a racket and asserting his dominance over the group, which Zira notices. And she decides to refer to him as Tenderfoot because he has bleeding feet.
Bandage them up, bitch.
Yeah, I know, right? It's soon enough a commotion is heard outside, and it turns out to be a human rights protest led by a chip named Cornelius. You can cry, Cornelius. Who tells the news reporter Ape that humans are only genetically different from apes by 1.6%, which is a position that cost him a teaching job he had. And then Lord Zeus shows up in his limo and dismisses Cornelius's ideas on live TV, referring to the sacred scrolls as his proof. So that's carrying stuff over from the original movie. I don't remember if the scrolls were a big thing in the book or not. Then again, I haven't read that in 20 years. So
yeah. And also, I was going to point out something here. I do like this whole debate going on because it's commenting on the evolution debate, which surprisingly does, or not really surprisingly, it never goes the fuck away.
Yeah.
Where you keep having these people who want to teach creationism as if it's a science when it's literally not a science. You have to be able to observe it multiple times, for it to be science or something, But I like that, this is in the mid-90s when that whole debate was actually coming back up in the news. And so I like that this is what the script is commenting on.
Yeah. And so Zeus enters the lab and he starts getting handsy and flirty and Weinstein-y with Zira before deliberately teasing Troy with a banana. And when Zira forces him to hand it over, he threatens her. He says, "I prefer to be cruel to my fellow ape," and leaves. And I'm like, is that a BDSM joke?
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past this script.
Yeah. Well, I do like the scene in Zira's car later on. On page 58.
How far are we from that right now?
I don't know. I keep trying to remember where all the pages are at. It's page 58, scene 96. Yeah,
but where is that in relation to where I am?
Let me check.
Because you're kind of, I think you might be jumping ahead on me here.
Perhaps a little. We can get to that in a little bit. I was wondering if you wanted to act that one out. It's right after the whole, it's one of the scenes after the Zeus interrupting the,
in her car. Oh, so it's literally like right after that scene that we were just talking about.
Yeah. You want to act it out?
Yeah, okay, sure. This is where she meets with Cornelius? All right, so.
Yeah, do you want to do the reading of the text?
I'll be Cornelius.
Yeah, and do the description text.
Yeah. Interior, Zira's car, moving, dusk. From a backseat vantage, we see Zira exiting the ZRI and crossing the lot towards us. She climbs in, starts the car, backs out of her spot. The moment she's out of the lot, a dark, furry silhouette rises into frame. There's someone in her back seat. Boo.
What are you doing in my car?
I hate picking the place all day and then walk in and bum a ride. It looks bad.
I thought they were having you watched.
Well, I pretended I was getting into the van, but I really hid behind a shrub. Then they all went away and I crawled right into your car. Brilliant, huh? Give me a kiss.
Not in the mood. Zeus came in, snooping around, put his hands all over me again.
What? If he tries it again, you tell him you're secretly engaged to a radical bomb-throwing, panicidal human rights terrorist. He leans forward to nuzzle her neck fur. She craps a hand on his face and shoves him back.
Then we'll both be out of a job, thanks. The worst part is having to pretend you enjoy it. You males can't possibly understand.
I hear he keeps a regular harem downtown at the palace. All species, too. Orangs, chimps, gorillas, even a couple of exotic.
Oh, stop it, exotics. He'd be in jail.
An orang? Are you kidding? Laws are for the rest of us, kiddo. I know a chimp who was one of his personal concubines, or her sister, actually. Her sister had a friend, that is, who was doing the laundry for, well, it was a very reliable source. She gives him a wry grin despite herself. She does love the big ape.
I've got a couple of new humans I'd like you to take a look at.
Possible candidates for the colony?
There's something odd about them. Funny little flicker in the eyes. And they very, solicitous of each other. The male shows no interest whatsoever in the other females.
A human male? And he's into monogamy? This I'll believe when I see it.
Funny, now that you mention it, I've never seen him playing with himself.
Oh my god.
I like that scene.
We got master. We got Michael Bay would love this. It's a masturbation joke.
Yeah.
And then we are missing a page.
Unfortunately, and it's the first of 2 pages that are missing.
There's 2 pages missing?
Page 79, I believe, is missing as well.
Oh, I must have missed
I can look it up. We'll go through it, but yeah, I think page 79 is missing, and I relabeled my PDF to note it.
I think I just remember page 60 because that's the page you always bring up.
True, and I guess I just forgot that page because it's been so long since I've seen it. That page 79 is also missing.
All right, so sometime later, Zero has Troy and Susan taken to a private cage and stripped so she can observe their mating practices via camera.
Yep, page 79 missing.
Oh, shit. I had too lazy to relabel the fucking PDF. This isn't helped by the warders, Bernardus and Scipio, Africanus, sneaking in to watch before Zira kicks them out. And Troy manages to talk Susan down and they're able to perform. He's basically telling her to think of the fucking flower.
Mm-hmm.
But Troy does notice the camera watching them, which Zira picks up on. So we got the fucking sex scene. Just of Arnold presumably going, think of the ocean.
And I'll pretend that you're not the maid.
You're not Bridget Nielsen. We're not on the set of Red Sonja. And so we then go to Sunday morning services at the city's cathedral, where we get a glimpse of Apes' social hierarchy, orangutans at the front, gorillas, then chimps, and then monkeys and exotics on a balcony. And I'm not entirely sure what exotics consists of. I guess bonobos.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned earlier, the Home Alone 2 reference and
macaque.
Yeah, macaque and all that shit. I wonder if that movie has an obligatory orangutan Trump cameo.
who gives the fucking macaque Culkin the wrong directions to the lobby.
Yeah, and he gives him a weird look. The bonobos, they're not sending up best. They're rapists. They're criminals. I assume some are good apes. Well, it's funny, though, we say orangutan because that was the joke that made him sue Bill Maher. I mean, I fucking hate Bill Maher, but Jesus, he was spot on with that joke.
I mean, it would fit this world.
True, yeah, orangutans are at the front here, so yeah.
Yeah, and Lord Zaius and the other orang elders are seated to either side of the pulpit, where the priest gives a sermon about staying in one's place and paying one's quarterly income tax. Then Zaius looks over at the elders and winks.
So yeah, basically no separation of church and state here. So instead of tithing, they're just being direct. It's taxes in this case, which I like. But surprisingly, no choir rendition of Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
Oh God, no. But so they have their version of The Simpsons. So technically speaking, they've seen that episode.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, is it any worse than in Resident Evil Vendetta, the CG movie? They reference Breaking Bad, and in Breaking Bad, they reference Resident Evil 4.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen Vendetta yet, so...
It's fine.
I haven't seen any of those CG movies, but so...
They're fine for what they are, but yeah.
And so they're on the steps after the service. The priest grills Zaius about finding the Earth humans, saying that ape society, its taboos will crumble if the public finds out. He goes like, oh, we've all broken said taboos. And you're like, you have fucking appetites that make all of us look good by comparison. And then the priest fucking has like a heart attack on the steps. It's like,
yeah.
Zaius is really fucking funny in this, I have to admit.
Yeah, no, he's a very multi-layered character in this script, like in the original. And even though he's not merely just a doctor anymore, but he still has his motivations, which he's more of a dastardly villain in this. In the original, I get the impression that he's not so much he's an antagonist, but I didn't get the impression that he was a snidely whiplash for the sake of control. It was more for the sake of order.
Yeah,
if that made any sense.
He was a well-intentioned extremist. And the movie kind of basically, the ending of the movie is basically going, yeah, he's kind of right.
Yeah, which I liked. And in this, I do like that he's kind of a dictator.
He puts the dick into dictator.
Yeah. And then I don't care for the Tim Roth character in the Tim Burton movie where he's just like an open warrior. It's just too cliched. Too one note.
Ah, guns.
Yeah, like I said, just too one note.
It's called a gun, son. I just turned Charlton Heston into Troy McClure there, but okay, so that night Zira meets with Cornelius in her apartment and shows him the tape, and she first points out that Troy seems to be talking but they can't make it out, and Zira speculates that he was someone's pet before somehow making it to the mountain tribe, and Cornelius is too distracted by the sex tape though. He's going like, wow, this is good, we could sell this and make a fortune.
We're watching Humanality. What's this universe's version of Dogfucker like?
Oh God! And is the remake?
I just referenced the bestiality Linda Lovelace movie, folks.
Yes. We will not stand for the remake of Dogfucker. Oh my God!
Sleep tight, folks.
That whole conversation is really funny. And so she then shows him the moment when Troy looks at the camera and all that implies. And we then go back to the ZRI, where after listening to a gorilla cover of Staying Alive, the two warders bribe a janitor to look the other way. And this is where the joke goes a little too far.
Yeah.
He's admiring a naked baboon in an issue of Ape House, and it's literally like spreading its ass at the fucking camera. And I'm like, okay.
We get it.
Yeah. You could just show him. You could just show him looking at the magazine without showing the spread.
By the way, folks, if you think you have less ass hair than an ape, we actually have the same number of hairs as apes do. It's just that our hair is finer.
Oh.
So think about that when you're looking at your asshole.
I apologize, listeners.
I don't.
Well, yeah, you don't have to. You're not responsible for this. They smuggled Troy out.
I'm responsible for what I say. You're just responsible whether or not you want to air it.
I don't want to edit this too much, so I'm just giving you, because I gotta get this out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But okay, so they smuggled Troy out to an underground fight club, which they don't talk about. Those are the first two rules. Run by a spider monkey named Maximus, which I think
does he have large boobs? Large ape man boobs?
Is his full name Maximus Decimus Meridius, and he will have vengeance?
It's been years since I've watched Fight Club. I should rewatch that tonight.
Yeah, Fight Club's great. Yeah, I keep meaning to watch it because Meatloaf passed away. But no, I think it's cool that they put that this actually works in like all the different kinds of apes. Like it includes monkeys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because what I remember, the original movies, they didn't really get into like the gorilla aspect until Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, like there's gorillas in the movie, but not a whole lot of it.
Yeah, well, it's also interesting that, just like a quick side note, like Beneath the Planet of the Apes has elements that were written in response to a lot of like the anti-war protests that were going on at the time. And so that's what the movie is, kind of like commenting on war culture.
Yeah.
So again, the Planet of the Apes series has always been very prescient of the times that it's in.
Yeah, they want to bet on him to fight a huge gorilla named Brutus. And it doesn't go so well at first, with Brutus hurling Troy across the pit and getting him into a bone-crushing embrace. And Troy gets out of it by biting off the gorilla's ear, so he's Mike Tyson now. Stealing his belt and whipping him with it, and he then splashes alcohol on Brutus's wounds before trying to strangle him with the belt before getting snagged by a catch pole and pulled out of the pit. And worried about how to explain his wounds to Zira, the warders take Troy back to the habitat and administer a savage beating to Furball to make it look like those two were fighting again. And Zira's like, really? And she just has them suspended for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And Susan talks to Troy after Zira leaves, telling him they'll have to trust someone if they're to escape. And soon enough, Zira brings Cornelius to look at the two humans in person, and he tests them out by having them pick out different pictures of food in a book in response to the word. And I'm like, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3?
Yeah.
And Troy...
What else? Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, are we going to have like some fraudulent science like Coco, the sign language gorilla in this? Where like they're like, look, it's really it really understands all this sign language when it's really vague as to what it really understood.
Tickle Amy.
Yeah.
But so Troy eventually tires of this and speaks. This scene's really funny. And Cornelius freaks out again. And he does again when Susan speaks. And then Zira in turn freaks out when she comes in and finds out the truth. So it's just girls losing their shit going, what?
Yeah.
And before long, Troy and Susan are being fed in the lab's kitchen, and they've explained how they've gotten there and what's been happening on Earth. And Zira insists that they don't have space travel. In fact, the sacred scrolls forbid the very idea of life on other planets. And the orangutans are in charge of religion, media, etc. And from this, Troy deduces that they've been using satellite receivers to steal Earth's culture.
I guess I should get back to the whole talking point. What do you think about them voluntarily not talking?
I think it's actually kind of smart.
Okay.
Because I mean, if they started talking before, they would have just gotten shot or
True.
murders in the rue morgue.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say because in the original, it made that effective was that for a while
He couldn't speak.
Charlton Heston's he's not able to speak, and that made his struggle really compelling, and you just felt so much pity for the guy. You just wanted to yell out.
Yeah, and well,
but I do like the difference here again. But you brought up a good point though.
And in the book, it's because the apes don't speak English. So he has to learn language.
Okay, I guess that's they didn't ever want to really depict that on screen because it would take it's a whole another element that you'd have to include in their world building.
Yeah, and they already have it worked in why they would speak English anyways. So.
Yeah.
And so Cornelius then says he wants to take them to a private preserve they've been putting together for the brighter humans that have been brought in, located near the edge of the Forbidden Zone. And there's a space hunter there somewhere. And we then go to Zaius arriving at the lake via helicopter where the spaceship has been dredged up. And he finds the 5 cryo chambers inside and realizes that they haven't gotten all of the Earth humans yet. And he soon orders a new batch of humans at ZRI quarantined and eventually moved out, forcing Zira and Cornelius to move up their plan to help Troy and Susan escape. And the plan is fouled up, though, when the warders bribe their way back into the habitat and snatch Troy, taking him back to the Fight Club. And this sets off the alarm, which causes the apes in the Fight Club to scatter, leaving Troy in the pit with what turns out to be a lobotomized Dodge. So Dodge gets Landon's fate in this.
Mm-hmm.
And Cornelius and Zira still manage to sneak Susan out to ZRI, sending a decoy van with the wild humans out, which crashes and lets them escape. And Troy picks now to escape the warehouse and gets chased down by guerrilla cops. And this fucking chase scene goes on for what feels like forever on the page, where it's like, there's fucking banana peels getting tripped on. He runs through a bar, a strip club, he gets swarmed by spider monkeys, and he eventually steals a bicycle from a chimp named Caius, who is putting up liars, and after a car bike chase, Troy ends up in a skate park, plastered with ads for the circus that Caius was putting up. It's a skate park where they're probably featuring Tony Chimp, pro skater.
That's the best you could do.
Best I can do on the fucking...
On the fly.
Come
on, man. I made a Columbine joke on the fly.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
And the chimp talks the cops into thinking that Troy is a trained circus human and takes off with him. And then we go to, Cornelius, Zira, and Susan, who are riding toward the colony on llama-like pack animals. And he points out the border to Forbidden Zone to Susan, marked by scarecrows and barbed wire atop a mountain ridge, and only orangutans are allowed in there. And Susan speculates that must be where they keep the satellite tech. And they soon emerge into a riverbed and meet a young girl the chimps have named Yocasta. And she can understand all the words and can sign somewhat, which is the whole reason Cornelius has set this place up, to expose the young ones to language and see what sticks, as there's no physiological reason that the humans can't speak. He's like, you're trying to help her speak and you named her Yocasta? And I'm like, there's a much bigger problem with naming her that. Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't know the myth of Oedipus, just fucking Google it.
Yep. So I was intrigued to look up what are exotic apes here, and of course the first fucking thing I get is NFT links.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. So this makes me wonder if, given time in this ape society, 20 years later, is there going to be like shitty human NFTs? Bored humans.
The fucking ape version of Matt Damon is still doing that shitty crypto commercial.
Yeah. Which basically that's like guilting you into just being in crypto, even if it's not working out for you.
He does. Oh yeah.
I guess I could go in my anti-crypto rant, but yeah, no, that's a dumb commercial. But also, like, is Ape Ashton Kutcher into crypto as well?
Yeah, the thing that gets me about that commercial is they don't even get the fucking saying right at the end. But moving on.
Yeah.
But they soon arrive at the colony, which is located in a cave system. And Susan vomits, revealing that she's now pregnant with Troy's child. And there's this whole thing about how her pregnancy is accelerated, which I don't think they ever actually explain.
Yeah.
And so we go to the circus where Troy is getting by riding his bicycle, and he then gets a role in a sitcom-like skit the circus is putting on live television. It's this weird, like, Pleasantville kind of thing where they're, like, training humans to do stupid shit.
Yeah.
During which he speaks up and tells everything about himself, Earth, and what's happening there, begging
Humans say the darndest things.
Oh, God. Hopefully with less Cosby.
Yeah.
And what's happening there, begging for help from the people of the planet. And this makes him a celebrity overnight. And the chimps and the gorillas rally behind him to help make a new ship and a cure for the plague. And so this whole thing about him becoming a celebrity and going on like all the talk shows and stuff, that's from the book where Zeus is a much more subtle antagonist, even compared to the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so Zero tells Troy that it's all a temporary fad, though, and the orangutans won't allow any of it to happen. And Troy keeps Susan's survival a secret as he appears on TV talk shows, etc. And the orangutan leaders all meet again in the church with the high priest wanting to kill Troy. And Zeus is more forward-thinking, though, saying that will just make him a martyr. And he also knows at least 2 more Earth humans are still alive, and he suspects that the other is female. How he figured that out, I'm not sure, but okay. I guess he's just such a pussy hound, he can smell it on the fucking cryotube.
Yeah. Oh, in the Ape version of Crossfire, does Ape Tucker Carlson still make a stupid fucking face?
Probably. The orangutans probably coached the ape on how to do the face.
Yeah.
And so,
if you don't know the Tucker face, just look it up. But
back at the colony, Susan is testing the human children and discovers from their genes that they're related to Earth humans, branching off thousands of years ago, which that is never addressed what the hell that's about.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that would need to be fixed in like a second draft.
Mm-hmm.
And they also all have the plague in their systems, but developed a mutation to deal with it. And the helicopter soon flies by and snaps a picture of Susan grabbing one of the young girls and bringing her back to the cave, which Zeus compares to the tapes from the ZRI, confirming that came from there. And Susan...
I just realized this is kind of reminding me of Battlefield Earth.
Oh my god, let's not.
Kind of is.
Do the apes think that the dogs are the real dominant species?
Yeah.
Oh god, John Travolta is Zeus.
This is Zeus, your chief of security.
You were still learning to Spanione. Although, I'll be honest, when I was reading it, I kept thinking Jeremy Irons.
That's an interesting choice. I can see that.
Doing that American accent he does in one scene of Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah.
Oh, holy Toledo.
I would love to. Yeah, no, he would have been a great choice for the character.
Okay, and so where the fuck was I? Susan soon determines that there must have been a thriving human civilization on this planet that was all but wiped out by the plague, and the mutation that the survivors developed removed their ability to speak, and Susan thinks she can make a cure with further research and then has a spasm thinking the baby is kicked when it's too soon for that. Once again, the only explanation that would make sense is if, like, that this planet's year is shorter than an Earth year, but even then, I'm not sure that would really still make sense at all.
Here's what I would do in a rewrite. Establish Troy and Susan as having been in a relationship a little while longer before they went up into space, and that even right before they went into space, they had sex, and there was about a 9-month gap.
I mean, unless this is just like Highlander 2 rules, where you're pregnant on this planet, but not on Earth.
Yeah.
Which is another movie where the fucking aliens are stealing cable, because Katana knows all the references. Oh god.
What do you think about my suggestion for a rewrite?
That's very sensible considering this is never explained.
Yeah.
And soon an orangutan enters the cave and wounds Cordelius with a gun before taking both him and Susan out of there. And back at the Ape City, Troy and Zira attend a party at Zeus' apartment where he announces that the Mercy mission to Earth has been approved. And after the party is let out, Zeus has Zira sent home, leaving Troy as the only remaining guest. And Troy is playing the piano, and he directly confronts Zaius about stealing Earth's culture, and the orangutan readily admits to it, saying that it has allowed his species to remain on top. And they got worried when Sputnik went up, and fearing that Earth humans would soon be heading into space, sent the plague to Earth to deal with the problem. And he claims it's too late to save Earth, and that the Mercy ship will claim a vacant planet. And okay, problem with their plan here that they did not think through. If Earth civilization is wiped out, what the fuck are they going to steal now?
Yeah. Not only that, but I want to make a Challenger explosion joke here somewhere.
No, don't. Okay, and so Troy starts to viciously beat Zaius, but is stopped when the orangutan tells him that he's holding Susan, and that she'll be safe so long as Troy remains silent. He also lets slip that Susan is pregnant, which absolutely floors Troy, and he soon returns to Zira's apartment where he tells her about what happened and that Zaius is holding Susan and Cornelius. And Troy also opens up about his son by his ex-wife who died when he went on a rafting trip when Troy got too busy to stay with him. So yay, character development, way too late. And Zira is moved by this and kisses Troy, much to his shock. Okay, I have to talk about this. There is a party scene in the book. I remember this vividly. They go, Zira and whatever the fucking guy's name is in the book, the Ulysses Meru, I think. They go to the party. They both get shit-faced drunk. They come back to her apartment, and they kiss, and it's implied they're about to bang. And that's when you get the line, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're just too damn ugly."
Yeah.
I'm like, oh boy, that's a scene.
I also have to wonder, well, they do have a bit of like a flirtation scene in the Tim Burton movie, don't they?
They basically, all the setup is there for her to be the love interest. They just don't do anything with it because Fox said no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's still clearly what's going on in the movie. They just don't wrap that up.
Yeah, because I remember there's like bits where she's like ogling the Mark Wahlberg's character.
Oh, and the blonde is the blonde who can't act is also like super thirsting for Marky Mark, but he doesn't give a shit.
Oh, it's even funnier that oh Jesus. So the name of Alexander Troy, that's gonna be paid off here in a little bit, but do you think it's better than Leo, as in Leo the Lion?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Although Alexander Troy does make him sound like he's the third brother of Nicolas Cage from Face Off.
Mm-hmm.
But so Zaius is soon flown out of the city via helicopter to Olympus base in the Forbidden Zone, where the Mercy ship is being tested. And the base has been constructed in the ruins of the human city of Olympus, the only remaining vestiges of the human civilization. And so it's described as being like classical Greek architecture, but in glass and steel.
Mm.
But we see Apes watching transmissions from Earth and taking notes, as well as Cornelius in the holding cell, where Zaius forces him to eat bugs, which is a weird scene you could cut out.
Just think, one of the apes has to write down notes on Full House.
This being the 90s, Jesus. Well, what else would they have to take notes
as fun
on?
As I was going to say, I'd prefer to be the ape having to take down notes on Married with Children.
Or Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And so Susan is in the media chamber.
Apefeld.
Yeah, oh God. In the media chamber watching 5-year-old news broadcasts because it takes them that long to reach the receiver, showing Earth descending into chaos. Like it's like Romero zombie movie stuff, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like the humans all like fighting, there's like militias and shit. And Zaius arrives, switching the station to MTV, and he assures that the situation on Earth can only have gotten worse. And so Susan on a leash and Zaius walk through the base, with Zaius commenting on how the virus was created in a lab by a human scientist and accidentally unleashed, which, like, that's like, we wait. It's so weird how this plague is like the backbone of the first act.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't really come up much again until right here.
Yeah.
And it's just a line. And so I'm guessing the humans sent an expedition to Earth, which got stranded when the virus broke out on this planet, and that's what the whole weird ancient astronaut thing is about.
I guess I'm trying to comprehend all of this myself, dude.
Yeah, this third act is very messy.
And yeah, we're also trying to comprehend this damn near 11 o'clock.
Yeah. They arrive at the biolab where Susan mentions that Yocasta is sick and wants her to take...
Jesus, just think there's Ape World version of Biodome.
What would the Ape World version of Encino Man be?
Well, it would have to be that he's a human.
So he's still Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
He's the honorary ape that they allowed movies to.
yeah, but she wants Yocasta taken to Zira for care before being returned. And she
Or
also
could just been a shaved ape.
that's true. Piltdown, man. She also has a letter sent to Troy, which Zaius reads and laughs at, and Troy reads it, and from various clues that Susan slipped in, deduces that she sent Yocasta back as a Trojan horse. So we're getting all the Greek mythology references right now.
Yeah, I also wonder, so is there a reason why they didn't just name this character Nova?
I don't know.
It's a speechless character, just call it Nova.
I mean, the reboot movies threw in the Nova, who's named after the Chevy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has Zira take a blood sample from the girl to confirm his theory. And we then go to
COVID-19.
Yeah. You freaking wet market. And we then go to the cathedral where the orangutan elders all drink from the wine goblet. And Troy is in the congregation, and the high priest tries to use him as a test of their faith before breaking out in a coughing fit. And is taken back to his chambers. This whole part is cool. Once there, the other elders, including Zaius, start coughing as well. And an orangutan messenger arrives, alerting them to the fact that an outbreak has occurred at Olympus base as well. And Troy soon enters, saying that the high priest will die in 48 hours, and the rest may have a bit longer than that. So this was a very cool plot point where he gets them.
Yeah, red wedding them.
Yeah, and the elders realizes that he poisoned the sacramental wine, and Troy makes his demands. Bring him to Susan and let her transmit her research to Earth, or he'll poison the water supply. Someone's poisoned the water hole, assuring them that the virus will only affect orangutans. Zaius orders Susan shot in the belly, no less. Wow, pleasant guy. But is overruled by the elders when Troy says that an antidote exists. However, while flying out to Olympus base on Zaius' jet, Troy lets slip to Zira that he was bluffing because he's not sure.
Yeah.
And when they get to the base, Cornelius has readied the Mercy ship, and they're just waiting for Susan to gather up all of the colony humans for the escape. And this part just makes me laugh, where Troy is like, "Hey, elders, the antidote?" Which has already been administered to the orangutans in the base. And it's in a box on top of a nearby peak marked by a flag, and the elders go, "Hey, gorilla pilot, you go there. It's going to take you 45 minutes. You go get it."
Mm-hmm.
And while Troy gets a sample vial from Cornelius, and the elders want to give it to the high priest while Zaius wants it for himself, and Troy just tosses the vial into the snow, and this very nearly turns into the fucking opening of Temple of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
And while the elders are fighting over trying to find it, the monorail gondolas begin to move, signaling that Susan is back. And Zaius soon finds the vial, sneakily downs it, and then uses a hidden microphone inside a pen, because he's Ian Fleming, apparently, to signal someone. And this calls in a squad of gorillas on jetpacks, which open fire on the gondolas. At this point, this script has gone on for a while already, and this action scene is very detailed.
Yeah.
And Troy gets Zira to arm herself and start taking shots. He grabs some guns and jumps in a gondola, ascending instead of descending. And the young girl, Josie, grabs a rifle of her own and opens fire on the elders, with Zaius only surviving by jumping behind a rock. So the elders get killed by a little girl. Mm-hmm. Except for Zaius, and as we find out later, the high priest.
This is kind of reminding me of Westworld to a degree. Like, just if you get to the season 2 finale.
Oh, I was wondering which Westworld you meant.
Well, the new show.
Okay.
Because there's also that short-lived show from 1980s.
I was thinking of the movie.
I know you were, but I'm just saying that there's 2 TV shows.
Okay. 2 armored helicopters appear and fire off rockets, destroying one of the pylons supporting the monorail. And this is what I don't get about this action scene. There was really no point to Troy going up the gondola. Because he passes Susan on the ascent, more rockets fire, his gondola gets even more destabilized. They uses his rifle to zip line down the cable to the gondola behind him. And then
I was going to say, I guess Sam Hamm had just watched Moonraker recently. He's like, "Oh, what a gondola action sequence."
Yep. And suddenly, Zaius' jet takes off. The high priest who had snuck aboard thinks Zaius is piloting, but it's actually Cornelius, who then uses the plane to crash into one of the helicopters and into a nearby mountain, sacrificing himself. So, cool little moment there for Cornelius.
Mm-hmm.
And the pylon is fully destroyed by another rocket, leaving both Troy's and Susan's gondolas in precarious positions. Susan waits for hers to dip down to 15 feet above the ground, allowing her and the humans to jump out safely. And Troy, using a hook meant to guide the gondola, jumps onto a jetpack gorilla. And they fall onto the slope, and Troy slides down to the bottom using the gorilla as a snowboard. The Tony Hawk jokes write themselves. And they all get
Or
aboard.
SSX jokes, that one snowboarding video game.
Pro evolution skating.
Yeah.
They all get aboard the spaceship and are in the process of taking off when the remaining helicopter fires a rocket that explodes just beneath them, damaging the VTOL rockets. And this part is just why they end up sliding down the mountain, and Troy gets the idea to use it like a ski slope, giving the jets one last blast to perform what amounts to a ski jump. I'm like, okay, calm down. You've had enough action. You don't need this.
Mm-hmm.
And the ship manages to get into space, but no sooner are they on their way than the oxygen tanks start malfunctioning, because it turns out we've got the cliche of the villain coming back one last time, because Zaius has snuck on board and is sabotaging the tanks. Troy fights Zaius in zero gravity. Both of them get pulled out into space, and remembering Stewart, Troy scratches Zaius' face and the orangutan's blood is sucked right out of his body. So decent little setup and payoff there, but was it really worth dragging this out like this? Not really.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like Troy is done for as well, but he's rescued by Zira in an excursion suit. And it then jumps ahead 7 years to Troy telling the story via radio broadcast, saying he's been doing so twice a week because this is now I Am Legend, and transmitting Susan's data to counteract the plague.
Is Zero dead now?
No, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to remember here.
Yeah, he's soon joined by Susan and their son Jack. They're nearing Saturn, and there still has been no response from Earth. A voice is soon heard over the radio confirming that the mutagen works. They're joined by Zira and the gifted human children, and they all celebrate the good news.
Yeah, that's right. She is still alive. I forgot.
Yeah, she still is. As they approach Earth, now in the year 2073, they are guided by the voices over the radio to an airstrip near New York. The lights on the landing strip are at first so bright that Troy and the others can't make out the crowd come to greet them, but Troy senses something off about them. And as a few vehicles get close to them, and Troy can make out the occupants, he realizes that they are apes. And they are soon surrounded by apes armed with guns. The crowd is squealing for blood. Troy is greeted by a guerrilla general who extends a hand and welcomes him home. Susan screams when we get a close-up glimpse of the Statue of Liberty, now carved into the likeness of an ape, and it ends.
I like that they have another Statue of Liberty ending.
Yeah, that was actually kind of
this.
It's better than it's better than the Terry Hayes ending.
Yeah, well, I'll know that when I listen to that episode. But yeah, no, I like that they had another ending gag with Statue of Liberty, but they also contrast that with the fact that the movie opened up with a Statue of Liberty shot, or a Statue of Liberty shot in the opening pages.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I do think there could have been a little bit more foreshadowing to this, because it seems like the apes took over and learned how to speak really quickly.
Yeah.
And they're being super polite considering the crowd is begging for blood.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it'd be a nice little twist ending. It makes more sense than the Tim Burton ending.
Yeah.
Where it's just how far back did they go?
But also have fun trying to, get uninvolved apes to fight your battle for you. Yeah.
And also, that doesn't make any sense because they say in the movie that the apes on the space station were the last apes in existence.
Yep.
Oh my God, I just realized that.
Realized that it made no sense?
No, I just realized that they said in the movie that they're the only apes left on Earth were on the space station because we destroyed the forest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, it makes sense. It doesn't make sense in ways I didn't even imagine.
I love that we just peel back the shit layers of the onion that is that movie.
Oh my God, I never realized that before. Oh God, but back to this. This is honestly a pretty good script.
Yeah, just give it a solid rewrite, and you would have had an amazing late 90s movie commenting on late 90s society.
Yeah, it would have been. And I feel like a lot of people kind of dismiss this version. I think they get to the Home Alone gag and then they're done.
Yeah, there's some stupid stuff like that, but you kind of have to take it for what it is.
But it makes sense in context and is explained.
Yeah.
It's really mainly the third act that needs reworking because it's a lot of back and forth to the lab. Oh, here's the colony.
Yeah, I would say the first and third act need the most reworking.
And my God, the fucking jetpack fight did not need to be as long as it was.
Yeah.
But but the action scenes, as long as they are, they're good. The social commentary is actually pretty fun. The parody stuff is funny. And it is a pretty adult movie still.
Yeah, surprising. Yeah, I mean, the Planet of the Apes movies I've always found to be rather adult for what they are. And so I always think it's a great series to show to kids, especially ones who want to get involved in like makeup effects. Like I know that's like Greg Nicotero used to, like when he was a kid, create like a little ape bust. Stuff like that. So and then the themes are there. I think it's a very fascinating movie to show your kids when they're like 7 or 8. This script, man, I would have done just as good of a job as the originals in terms of carrying on that tradition.
Yeah, it's just really well written for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I would say of the unproduced or early drafts I've read from Sam Hamm, this is probably the best.
Yeah.
Because his Batman Returns draft is Watchmen isn't very good, and Fantastic Four, dear God, but I've already mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually, that script also has weird colored globules in it.
Yeah, we'll get to that one day, folks.
One day. That was a parallel I just realized. But no, it's an enjoyable, very readable script that does a good job updating and kind of doing its own thing.
Mm-hmm. And taking cues from the original source material.
Yeah, that too, because there is stuff in here, like I probably didn't mention anywhere near all of it, but there is stuff in here that's very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm glad we finally got this done. So until next time, guys. Whatever next time ends up being, bye.
Yeah, bye.